going on your channel too.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, it's Susan Lynn and it's Jason, and we're
Hello.
here. And he's broadcasting to his channel too. So it's also Jason's channel and Susan's channel. It's very confusing. How are you, Jason?
I am excellent and very happy to finally get to meet you and collaborate with you. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy you're here. And I just want to apologize right off the bat that my title kind of made it sound like we were going to be doing personal questions, and we're not really doing personal questions. We're really doing the big picture, which frankly, this is more helpful for you. If I just answer your personal question, you don't really understand the how or the why you got to where you are. And what I'm hoping to do with Jason here is to unlock some really big concepts, not only for you, but for me, about what our soul, I mean, like for real, y'all, why do we choose this planet? What are we doing here? And how do we get through it and get an A+ so we don't have to come back? I mean, basically, that's what I want Jason to tell us today. I told him I was going to put him on the spot, but we're going to go big picture, but I promise you, this is going to be information that's going to help you. So if you'll just keep an open mind, I'm pretty sure that what we talk about today is going to be very applicable to your personal life issues, and applicable in a way that's going to be even better, even more helpful, because the next time you have an issue and the next time you have an issue, you're going to know kind of a little bit more about why you're having these issues and what you might do about it. Am I selling this too big, Jason?
No, not at all. Yeah, I love the idea of the bigger picture. It's not to say that everyone's individual lifetimes aren't important, but I have noticed just in terms of what some people have asked, there are some kind of general human related questions that have a general answer for everyone. So I think that even if we don't address you specifically, you'll still get something out of it for your question. So it's not a lost cause.
We're starting off strong, Jason. It's not a lost cause. Don't worry. You're going to be okay. All right. Now, with that, I do want to ask Jason to explain a little bit about who he is, because I think it's fascinating what you do, Jason, and just let us know how long you've done it and what it is you do and how people can learn more about it.
I am a QHHT practitioner, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. So I've been doing that, I guess it's about 6 years now. So it was developed by Dolores Cannon. I never in a million years would think that I would be doing hypnosis and past life regression. It just kind of happened. So I do that. And if you're not familiar with QHHT, it's kind of, I like to call it kind of a spiritual hypnosis. Traditional hypnotherapy works more in the present. QHHT works with the understanding that we are multi-lifetime, multi-dimensional beings, and that we interact all the time with other lifetimes, and they affect us physically and sometimes. So it's a different approach to like healing and understanding kind of like mental wellness or mental health wellness and things like that. So that's where I started, and I love it. I absolutely love it. There's it's not just about helping others. It's about broadening my own knowledge and communicating with spirit teams, but also intergalactic beings and collectives and everything else. So every time I do a session, it's just always so mind-blowing, because I tend to battle between the really analytical, really critical thinking and then the spiritual. So at least with the QHHT, it's like I have no choice but to accept what's coming through and the information I get. So that's what I do for the hypnosis.
Awesome. So that QHHT was created by Dolores Cannon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And so to be a QHHT practitioner, I think there's like a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. I don't know. What level are you?
I'm a level 2.
Level 2. Okay.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of level 2s, I think, that we qualify for level 3, to be honest, but you do have to get recertified every year. I think it's, from what I understand, I'm not a Reiki master or anything like that, but I know that there's a level with Reiki where you have to kind of do it every year. So I'm happy with where I am now. But the level 1 is kind of, you're still getting your wings. Level 2, you've done at least 125 sessions, and
125 sessions to be able to qualify for level 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, that's level 3. I'm sorry. But you have to have 125 for level 3. So there's a lot of us that do have that.
I see. Okay. So at any rate, you have to, it's monitored, it's certified. You have to continue your education, continue getting recertified.
The level 2, not so much. Level 3, you do.
Level 3, you do. So that's where you would have to be certified every year. And I wonder what is the big difference between level 2 and 3?
Level 3, as far as I know, it's teaching you to do the hypnosis exactly to the T, like Dolores did it, which is not a bad thing. I mean, we're very true to the practice. Practitioners do adhere to what she did, but it includes like the sound and your tone and everything else. And then it's more active in terms of just the forum, the QHHT forums, and you promote QHHT a little bit more. So you're kind of not a storefront. I can't think of the right word, but
okay,
a representative of the practice.
Great. So when you're doing, and just bear with me for my uneducated question.
No.
When you're taking a patient, a client into this hypnosis, what is the goal? Why do people come to you? What can they get from this?
It really varies greatly. A huge, tremendous part of the experience is healing. So it kind of works with the understanding that a large majority of what we experience in our physical bodies is a spiritual message, or our spiritual messages, and simply ways for our spirit team to communicate with us. And it's just a matter of kind of understanding the roadmap of the body and what things represent, and then also looking at things that are going on in your life or have gone on in your life. The healing can happen. There are, I don't want to say there's no limitations to what can be healed, but there are reasons why, for example, someone's higher self might not heal a person, which can vary greatly from that's something that you chose in this life path in order to learn from, or it can also be a matter that there's a lot of people out there who kind of identify with being sick or identify with their illness, and sometimes use that as manipulation, control over others around them. So there are different reasons why healings may not occur. So the healing is one. Two, there's a lot of people who are just really curious about having questions about, have I had lifetimes? What are they? I mean, some people I've met with, and some of the most powerful sessions I've actually had are people that really have no idea what they're walking into. They're just curious, and they're really open-minded, and it's something like mind-blowingly incredible. Another case is, and more recently, it's people are really starting to wake up to our consciousness is raising and our vibration is raising. So we're seeing a lot more, we're understanding a lot more. Information is being poured into us every day, and DNA is being flipped on, which has been told to me, like people's abilities. I've been seeing people who never considered having abilities their entire life, and then all of a sudden it's like they're having visions and thinking they're going crazy. So it's very interesting to find out just how powerful they are in some cases, and so that's that's just a snippet of what people come for the sessions, or why they come for the sessions.
So when you hypnotize somebody, and again, I'm trying to put this into words because I actually haven't had exactly QHHT. I've kind of had a version of it. You're communicating with someone's higher self. And what do you consider to be the higher self? How would you describe that?
It's interesting. The higher self, I mean, generally is understood as that kind of your soul self. So it's the soul that has all the knowledge of all the culmination of life experiences. All lifetimes are happening at once, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But it has full knowledge of everything that you've learned and everything you've experienced and everything that you've set out to do. And especially, for example, this lifetime we are experiencing right now has full knowledge of, this was my plan. This is the kind of the movie or the script that I've written out. These are the players. And that, it can't tell us certain things. But in the actual hypnosis, it typically is relaxation, and then someone sees a lifetime. And the lifetimes, if they see them, are always directly relevant to the questions that they're asking in this lifetime, which is always kind of like a mystery novel in a way, because it's like, oh my God, this relates. It does, they're picking potatoes, but it still relates somehow. And then the last part is the higher self, but that's always interesting because there is the higher self. But other times I've had, spirit teams coming through, spirit guides coming through, protector spirits coming through. I've had galactic entities, collectives come through, which the first couple times that happened, I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Because it was just like, I can't believe I'm talking to an ET right now. And it's also, I've had a couple cases where I've gotten some very mysterious information that I didn't really know what to do with the information, and they just were kind of, I would ask, and I say they because it's usually more than one energy, what I do with that information, and they would just say, this is just to inform, it's not to cause fear. So it's really, there's the standard format, but going in, it can be anything and everything, really.
Super. So that's fascinating. I think it's always interesting to have an opportunity to talk to spirit guides and ETs and whoever shows up, right? So if you were to give us some advice, so you're kind of in the catbird seat in the sense that you've done a lot of these sessions and you've seen kind of what people struggle with. You've seen what the soul tends to struggle with. Have you seen some patterns? Like, most humans tend to struggle with these couple of things. And have you seen some ways that you could give people some advice on how to deal with one or two of those things?
Yes. One is absolutely, without a doubt, always comes up in a session. And the funny thing is that part of the process preparing for a session is coming up with physical related questions, life path related questions, and then curiosity questions. But there's always those questions that we come up with that when I ask them as in the session of their higher self, there are always one or two or possibly all of them where they say, she knows this. Why is she asking this question?
I hate when they do that. What do you mean I know it? If I knew it, I would fix it. See, now I would have to have a fight. Now we're going to have a fight. Okay, you're going to tell a woman that that's okay. Okay, go
ahead. I know it really comes down to, and the best way that I can put it is, our questions have to come from somewhere. And a lot of times with that core, that foundation, that base, I mean, we wouldn't have a question about something if we didn't have some knowledge. Was that my grandfather that was knocking on my window?
We have the knowledge, but do we have the answers? Are you telling me I got the answers all this time and I'm just sitting down here twiddling my thumbs?
Yeah. according to, I mean, it's much easier to sit here and say that, and then you walk outside and, you know, you get
Yeah.
hit by a car or whatever else. I mean, it's easier said than done, but in the spiritual perspective, we have all access to everything. And a lot of the times those little sparks of information or sparks of, you know, inspiration, our ego's the one that comes in and is like, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Oh, how are you ever going to do that? What past lives? Because your ego has no knowledge of other lifetimes. So it's like, what is this past life stuff? Why are you listening to this? Which some of you might be doing right now. And it's our ego has a really huge part to play in our daily experience. And the thing that I have learned about it, that's also something really important that, you know, generally that I've learned and accidentally learned, is our ego is actually a separate part of us. It's not part of who we are and are meant to be part of our thinking processes. They are self-aware. And I'll kind of explain that in a session. Sometimes people's egos get in the way, meaning this isn't working. What am I doing wrong? Why am I seeing this? And you get into this just cyclone of basically knocking your house down in terms of being able to really open up. And sometimes as a practitioner, I say, okay, will Susan's ego step to the side? You can watch, but we're doing this for spiritual purposes. And in one case, I had the ego respond and said, thank you for acknowledging us. And it was the most, I took a second, like a double take, and I was like, I didn't know this was a thing, that egos are aware. They said we always get the bad rap, that our goal and they said, thank you so much for we get the bad rap. And the thing is that we're here. They say we get really good satisfaction out of making you fumble, making you question yourself, making you, you know, not do what you set out to do. They get a lot of joy and satisfaction out of it. But at the same time, the higher purpose is to learn, or have us learn how to trust ourselves and trust our intuition and trust our gut and instincts. That for me was really, and has been really powerful, because you know, you get on that train with your ego. Yeah. It's like, you're not going anywhere. And that I recognize now when it's my ego stepping in saying, okay, I don't need this right now. I know what I need to do. Please, you know, take a break. So that's another thing, but I think we can all identify with. I guess I would say, and I noticed that the questions that were coming in have to do with, what do I need to do in this lifetime? How do I get on my soul path? And one of the most, you know, broad, this is actually for everyone. The reason why we're here is to help each other. And that's come from spirit, that's come from higher selves. That's all that we really need to do, is help each other, because this is the hardest school. We all sign up to come here. A lot of, you know, most of us full well know that it's difficult, it's heavy, it's dense, it's thick. We come in with amnesia. We don't remember who we are. We forget we're connected to the universe. So it's like helping each other is probably one of the most important aspects of the Earth experience, and why, you know, one reason why all of us are here is, you know, it's not easy. Let's help each other out and lift this dense cloud together. So
awesome. I love that. And I just want to say hey to Kevin, hey to Sybil, thanks moderators, and thanks Shaughnessy. And I just want to say that it's interesting. I want to give you a counterpoint to this. So ego, think of ego as your thinking mind. You know, we hear ego and we think about egotistic. Just think of it as the computer program that's running your mind. And the ego is really helpful. It's like, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Or did I turn the stove off? Or I should stop at this stop sign. Or, you know, I should be at work on time. Ego is like the operating system, and it's a really important thing. However, because your operating system was installed by your parents, who you choose to learn certain wonderful lessons from, and is influenced by these past lives and things, your operating system could stand some updating. So you can update it by, like what Jason is basically saying is, okay, yeah, I love my ego. I want to know, right? I want to know how to survive. I really feel like how I describe ego is a survival instinct. You know, I need to be at work on time. I need to pay this bill. I mean, yeah, that's 3D Earth stuff. It's super important. And if we didn't have the ego to help us do those things, and we were just relying on our higher self and our ascended energy, we would all be homeless and hoping for somebody to give us some food like a monk. We'd be trying to live like a monk. We're not monks. So I think the real challenge as humans, right, is what my spirit guides talk about is this is the time where humans can integrate. We can integrate the ego and the higher mind. And I don't know how you do that. I'm telling you, I'm on like level 100. Anyway, because to me, it's like I switch back and forth, right? Like, so for me, I'm not integrated, but I do understand that sometimes I want to listen to my higher mind and sometimes I want to listen to my ego. Now, I want to say also, this is really important. It's really hard to hear your higher mind. The voice that's in your head that's going to be the loudest voice is going to be your ego. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's hard to hear that. So what I tell people to do is and Kevin Loving Vibrations here too. It's a party. What I tell people to do is start listening to your higher mind when it doesn't matter. Like literally go to the frozen food section and say, would I like this? And if you feel like, and it's not something you'd normally buy, and you get a yes, however that appears for you, take it home and see if you like it, right? And then you're going to start being able to figure out what that sounds like for you. Is it a big yes? When there's nothing on the line, your ego doesn't care. Your ego's like, I'm going to go over here and take a nap. You know, I don't care what you buy, you know. So, but your higher mind is like, oh, we want you to be a little healthier. We want you to stop eating cheese and chocolate and all those things. But anyway, so it's a process, guys. Just don't think that I don't know about you, Kevin, but or not Kevin, but Jason, I can't always hear my spirit guides, because if it's something that I have a lot of emotion around, or it's a big decision, my ego is going to be right up in there, you know, like elbowing to the front and say, Susan, based on these years of your experience and the data that we can provide for you, this is what you should do, right? So that's why I think we turn to cards sometimes, right? We turn to an external thing that the spirit guides can communicate to us through. Or you get a reading with Jason. I don't know.
Yeah. It's true. And I in a different way connected to that is we have all these tools around us because of what we forgot that we can do. I've heard technology described like that, you know, the connections with everyone around the world. We forgot how to do that, and we actually can do that. It's just we are not there yet, or we're heading that way. I'm sure of, but it's the same thing with, you know, oracle cards and everything else. It's so we at least for some, we don't 100% trust everything, and it's nice to have that little, you know, that little boost.
Sure, they're training wheel. It's kind of like a training or a crutch. And I think what you're talking about is like the guides told me if we didn't have cell phones, we would already be much further along with telepathy. But this becomes, you know, the thing, right? And oracle cards become the thing. But sometimes we need those training wheels. Sometimes we just need a little extra support until we can kind of get to that point where we can not need them.
Yeah, and I about the ego, it's that what you were kind of describing was also kind of voiced during that session was, you know, we are here to protect. We are here to make sure that you're okay and don't touch the stove more than once. So that's important. But I feel like what you said, it's this finding that balance and that medium. And at the same token, they never ever expect us to be perfect. We wouldn't be here if we were.
They'd be out of a job, Jason. They would be out of a job.
Yeah.
If I was perfect, they'd be like, all right, we're unemployed.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. It's true. And there'd be a lot of people out of jobs if we, you know.
That's true. You're thinking about all the aliens and all the people that you've talked to through your clients. You're like, oh my God, they'd all be out of job.
People, I think it would be, you know, self-healing, everything else. I think it would be a complete massive shift. But that's another rabbit hole.
Cindy wants to know, how do we drop the ego so we can explore our higher self? I wouldn't say you drop it. What I tell people is, like, it's exactly what Jason said. Like, can you go over there? Can you step aside? Can you give us some room here? But I found with my clients that what I tell people is imagine. Once you say the word imagine, I swear your ego's like, peace out. She's not talking to us. We don't know nothing about no imagination. We're facts, figures. We're Google. We're nothing about, we're Wikipedia. We don't. So if you want to know how to get your higher self or to get your guides or get guidance, just say, if I were to imagine what's the best thing for me to do, and simply write down really quickly the very first thing that came to your mind. It's almost like slipping around that thinking ego. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, just in terms of the QHHT hypnosis, Dolores Cannon's daughter, Julia, she used to be a nurse, and she was very analytical and everything else. And it was really difficult for Dolores to get her to go under hypnosis. And she finally was able to do something very similar to what you're doing. It's where you just imagine, visualize whatever your ego would look like sitting in a chair. You're sitting in a chair in the middle, your higher self and your spirit team's on the other side of the room. And you just say to your ego, this is very important to me. I want to be able to experience and access my higher self and spirit team. Can you just give me this 2 hours or 30 minutes or however long? And they'll do it. And that's exactly how they wanted to be communicated with. They're like, don't push our head underwater. We're going to come back thrashing. That's actually what they say. It's like, you don't have to be mean to us and say, I'm going to drop you. Or
you're the enemy. You know, some people want to say, and the ego is not the enemy. It's not that at all. It's more of a balancing thing. So yeah. So if you can imagine, some people can't see pictures. If you can see pictures, imagine your ego sitting over there relaxing. Also, if you can't see pictures, just have a knowing. You just know that it's true. And then I want to talk about, because I think this is the biggest thing that happens, is the ego is trying to keep you safe. So inherently, you don't feel safe. So if you felt safe, I think the ego would easily, more often, give you that space you need. So how does one feel safe? How do we connect with the idea that we're truly safe?
It's the trust factor, and that's something that is really, I think, for everybody is an ongoing challenge. It's the faith factor. It's willing to take the leap off the cliff knowing that there's a fluffy pillow on the bottom, well, bigger than a fluffy pillow, but it is everything your ego hates. Like, it's outside of the realm of rationality, but there are those things, like personal experience. I had a really hard time starting to do QHHT because I was in grad school and I never quit, and it was another degree for mental health, but it was just like banging on my door, and I felt like my spirit team was banging on the door saying, you need to do this, you need to do it, don't do the program anymore, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
It took a lot. I fought a lot. I even was like, what happens if I stop my program? What about financial aid? And I was like doing all this research, and then it was my ego taking over again. And then it was just like, just do it. And I did it, and it was the best decision I could have done. But it was a process. And it's the things that I think it's the fear factor in what we do, and the fear of stretching our limits, and the fear of going beyond our comfort zone. But then it's at the same time, like in my program, it's like I had already started researching Dolores, and I knew mental health issues go much, much, much broader than what we experience in one lifetime. So it was like I already took the pill, and I already knew that I couldn't be a therapist and diagnose someone with something when I full well knew that
it was a bigger picture.
Another lifetime. It can be something spiritual, multidimensional. So I really had no choice. I fought the whole way down.
Oh, I totally know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but it's a leap of faith, and that's it takes a lot. It does. But if you just put fear aside, and that's another thing that, in the spiritual terms, the only disease of the planet is fear. They call it the fear virus because it's contagious. It affects all of us, or can be affects all of us. That's the only real disease on this planet. And I think that ties right into our ego. It's like when we get scared, the ego comes in to protect us because that's what it's supposed to do. But if we didn't have the fear, they could have more vacation time, I guess.
If we didn't have the fear, or maybe there's a balance. I mean, I really feel like what they're showing me is, for some reason, I don't know why, they're taking me back to like the caveman or Homo, whichever one you want to call, the beginning of man, and fire, right? And how important fire was, and how much more afraid of everything we were. Because, I mean, let's think about it, right? That was really a time when it was very fragile. Human life was very fragile. And they're telling me, even though you've advanced tremendously as humans, you've kept the fear. You've almost kept the fear of those times. And there's no reason for you to be that afraid. And I think it goes back to a little bit to what you were saying earlier about helping one another. Now, I kind of have been on this kick because my spirit guides have been saying that you got to fix it in here to fix it out there. I can't fix my family or my boss or my dog or my neighborhood or politics or anything. I can't. But once I start to raise my own vibration in whatever way that is, and in whatever amount that I can, meaning we're not always going to be zippity doo dah. We're humans. That's just that's not even going to work. But raise your vibration up and down. Just try to raise it up as much as you can, and then doesn't that just shine love and light to everyone around you? And in that way, aren't we lifting up like high tide raises all boats, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring that up because I used to have these really prophetic dreams when I was a kid. And I would wake up and be like, oh my God, this is insane. Where'd this come from? And one of it was I was in an auditorium and there's a speaker on the stage. And the one thing I remembered is, do you have to love yourself to love another? Or do you have to love another to love yourself? And that stuck with me. I had to have been 8 years old. And that was always something, even when I was studying philosophy, that was like something I had in the background. And I've really come to through what I'm doing or have been doing, it is an either or. It's the act of working on yourself is the act of working, helping others, because it is contagious. So it's not one or the other because we are all one. So the work I'm doing on me, I'm doing on you and everyone else that's here. So I think that, and it's just saying it. I think the implications are a lot more because, we feel guilty when, especially when a lot of us who are here right now have chosen to come back, didn't necessarily want to come back, but we have powerful, abilities and are healers and seers. We want to be helping everybody so much that we forget ourselves. And that's another balance, is that you can't give everything away, because if you're neglecting this, you're neglecting everyone also. So it's always important. Just in the experiences I've had, especially with QHHT, there are so many people who are here that are meant to heal, but they give everything away and they don't leave anything from themselves. So it's important to remember that you're important too.
Yeah. And if you're giving it all away, your tank is empty, your car runs out of gas on the side of the freeway, and you're not helping anybody, right? So I think this is super important as we go into 24 for some reason. We've got to be better about filling our own tanks up. We've got to be better about it because honestly, I think there's a lot of need out there. There's going to be a lot of people seeking healers, seeking light workers. All of us, we're light workers. You just have no idea how you heal people. And, it just happens in the grocery store line. It happens everywhere. So if you keep your tank nice and full, you're just going to be exuding that beautiful energy it's going to be helping so many people.
And and I think another thing is that we all or a lot of us have the misconception that we have to be doing something spiritual to be, yes, or getting into a spiritual profession or becoming a Reiki healer or whatever else. I've seen this in terms of, I've met with clients who are, one was a multi-million-dollar realtor in a very prominent area of Colorado. She was very spiritual, very into past lives, and she was very into that all. And she felt like that there was a disconnect between what she was doing in her career and who she was as a person. So she really wanted to know, that was one of her questions, am I on my path? Because I don't feel like I am, because I'm selling really expensive properties, but I feel like I could be doing more. And her herself was like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, because just by being you're bringing that light to a part of, in this case, Colorado, multi-million-dollar homes, that people who need it. And so it's like, even though we think that we're not doing something spiritual, just by exuding that light and doing the work on ourselves, we heal others. So.
I love that. I love that example, because here you have a high-end realtor or person, and they're doing the work, just like somebody serving soup in a soup line.
Mm-hmm.
We're all humans, regardless of whether we have a lot of zeros on our bank account or 1 0 on our bank account. We're all humans, and we need people to plug into us at all these levels.
Mm-hmm. And it comes from a place of trust and faith too, that we're all important. We all have the ability to raise vibrations. No one's insignificant. And oftentimes people who are light, people who are powerful light workers, they've met a life of conflict, or people not understanding them, or people thinking they're crazy, or why are you happy all the time? What do you want from me? Why are you giving this to me? And their light slowly goes out. And it's not because they chose particularly that experience, but they chose to go into a life where they were reaching out into areas that were dark and problematic, relationships that were dark and abusive, or going to school settings that were abusive and atrocious. When we forget where we come from, that's part of the youth experience, our ego starts taking over, and it's like, no one gets me. Why am I here? What am I doing? And I'm going to shut down because no one gets it. And Spirit's always like, no, absolutely not. You have to keep doing what you're doing. Even if you don't see the way you're touching people's lives, you are. And they might see it and they have a choice to accept it or not. It has nothing to do with you. That's their choice. And just to keep moving forward and shining your light.
That is so important. I mean, I think that should be repeated every day. You're not in charge of understanding how your light is shining. You're more than likely not aware of your light. And that's just operating on its own. It's like on a separate operating system. It's doing its own thing. What you can do to affect that is to, love yourself and take good care of yourself. And then, your light is even bigger. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good lessons.
Yeah. And watching your thoughts too. It takes work. negative self-talk. That I'm thinking of a few clients that kind of related to what I just said, and just one of them, very similar in type of circumstances I explained. She was 22 and had MS, and it was, her doctors were just like, I don't understand this. You're too young. What's going on? Her higher self revealed she is light incarnate. She is a light being. She's never been here before. The MS, it's because her body was listening to the way she talked to herself in her head. Like, why, what's wrong with you? Why are you always in a good mood? Why are you so weird? And this started eating away, and her body listened. And so the MS was, her body started attacking herself because she was attacking herself in her head. And that's what she had to do in order to release the MS, was change how she thought about herself. So it's things like that, especially when it's manifested in ways that are so serious and so deteriorates the body, it's important to think about, what am I doing? What am I thinking? Who am I engaging with? What must my spirit team trying to tell me? So just felt, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. No, thank you for sharing that. Because I think that's where we are. Like, it's a very tough concept to tell someone they brought on their own illness.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell someone that. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it for me. I don't want to think about it for other people. But I can say to people that you can change the trajectory if you've already done this, right? This is when we find out about it. If you're already having back issues, I mean, read Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. All your whole body, and this is kind of what you intimated earlier. The guides are always sending us messages. You guys know that I'm always saying this, but if you have knee problems, look that up. If you have a shoulder problem, look that up. But I think please pay attention to what Jason is saying about be nice to yourself. This is the only reason I can talk to my spirit guides. I've shared this with you guys many times. I went through this, when you go through something hard, you start to ask questions. Why me? Why this? Right? When you start asking questions and you fervently want an answer, you start getting answers. If you're open enough to hear them, you get those answers. And that's when your life changes. That's when you realize, I do need to talk better to myself. I need to be my own best cheerleader. There isn't anybody lined up, probably. There's not a big line of cheerleaders cheerleading you. We have to do it ourselves. And that's when you can change your actual DNA and the cells in your body. You can switch them on to a different type of vibration.
That's so true. And, when I first was getting it, it's funny because, you grow up hearing like spiritual new age things and you think, but then I feel like I'm kind of like being not smacked with them in the face, but it's like, there's something to this because it's so important, like the negative self-talk. I mean, it's not anything that's new, but having the understanding that, and this is what I've learned just through this practice, is our bodies are conscious. Our cells are conscious. If you take one cell away from a bunch of other similar cells, it'll die. It needs to be around in a collective. They are aware of us. They think we're like some type of, God in a way. But they listen to us. So if we say 25 million times, I have an ugly nose, our nose isn't going to get any better.
Yeah.
And it's important to give gratitude to it. It's like our bodies are a borrowed vehicle and we need to treat it well. We are not our bodies. And speaking to it and saying, hey, finger, thanks for helping me out in this life. Or I wouldn't do it in the grocery or in the middle of the street.
Why not? Come on. Why not?
But seriously, how many times, and just think of how many times you've actually, and this is just for everybody, thanked a part of your body for doing what it does every day. All we do is we say the negatives, like, I wish I had less weight, or I wish I was taller, or I wish I was skinnier. if my knee would act up or stop acting up, I could run a marathon. It's this negative. We saturate our bodies with negativity, and we wonder why we get sick.
Yeah. Yeah, it is true. Well, if nothing else, if your knee is acting up and you just suffer through it because you don't want to own the fact that it's got problems, and then the problem gets worse. So if you listen to your knee and said, "Oh my gosh, my knee is really hurting me today," and you rubbed it and sent it love, and you said, what do I need to do here? What would be the best thing? And the best thing I can really tell you, and Sharon wants to know, how do you hear your guides? Pay attention, you guys, when you say, what do I need to do to fix you, Mr. Knee? And then what happens is you might hear something, or you might know, or you might feel lose weight. And then you think, well, of course, that's my brain. Of course I need to lose weight. But it's really your spirit guides. And because your ego is kind of processing the information and it makes sense, I'm telling you guys, your ego, if it makes sense, your ego claims it as its own and says, do this. And then we think, of course, that, that's nothing special. If it doesn't make sense to your ego, you're going to forget about it, because your ego is like, there's no file cabinet. Just doesn't, get rid of it. So what I tell you guys is, write it down. If you write down every single crazy thing, I saw a blue bird, I had a crazy thought. I hadn't thought I should go back to school. I had an idea that I should maybe take a painting class. I don't even paint. I had an idea of I should maybe call my brother. If I had an idea that, I should take some more time off, take a vacation. That's guidance, you guys. That is guidance. If you'll write down everything, every time you see a repeating number, write it down. I challenge you to a spirit guide duel. Write it down for 30 days. Go back and look at those things. And I promise you, after 30 days, you're going to be like, holy crap. Because it's real. It's guidance. And it's your whole life is right there in those pages, and you can't deny it. And you're like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So that's good guidance. And
our spirit teams, I've communicated with some spirit teams, and they get kind of frustrated. Like, we kind of signed up for this, especially the one that's with us our whole life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they get bored, but it's like, I really wish she would just make this one decision to leave her job and look for something new so I can help her, because we can't interfere. We can't change her life path. If she just says this one thing without even knowing what's going to happen and not letting her ego own it, like you just said, and trusting and taking that leap of faith, we can come in and help. It's those little things that we think we have to have the whole plan at play. What about tax? I don't know why taxes is shot out of my mouth, but I have to worry about income and healthcare, and where am I going to live, and how am I going to support this, and how am I going to do that? And then sometimes it's just your spirit team's just giving you the hint of, all you need to do is just leave your job, and we can provide the rest, because you'll be on your path and you'll be happy and pursuing the path that you created for yourself. It's just the trust.
It's just the trust. And that's hard, right? Because your ego's like, I don't know, there's not another job out there. I'll never get another, there's a million ways that your ego can make sense of it, that this is not the best idea. But I'll tell you guys, every time I've made a mistake, it's because I've thought about I've said, okay, my next step is this, and I'm going to Google, I'm going to research, I'm going to come up with the best plan. And it just doesn't work. But when I listen to that aha moment, or those 5 people that have shown up in your life at various times and said, you're a really good teacher, and you'll be like, who are you talking to? I'm not a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, I promise you, if you guys all look at your lives, there's going to be like one thing that more than one person has told you that has stuck with you, but you thought, that's the weirdest thing. People keep saying, I should do this. That's guidance. That's your spirit guides telling you. sending you messages?
I had a spirit team one time say, because there's so many people that say I don't communicate with my guides. How do I hear my guides? And it was actually kind of a comical higher self spirit team slash. And they said, this is the way, this is kind of the litmus test. This is how you tell if you've communicated with your spirit guides. And I said, okay. And they said, you can share this. And I said, okay. And they said, and I'm sure almost all of us can say that there was that one time in our life that we knew we shouldn't have done something. We did it anyway. And we turn around and it goes bad, or it doesn't go well. Yeah. And we think, I should have listened to myself.
Yeah.
That's your team.
I knew I shouldn't have done that. How many times have we said that? I knew it. We even turn right and we think, I don't think this is the right. Oh, I knew I should have. When you say that, you guys, I knew it. I knew. That's your spirit guides. You're saying, I knew I should have listened to my spirit guides. So
yeah.
Pay attention. It's right there. It's kind of like he said earlier. They're guiding us. They're all around us all the time.
And that way we just kind of cringe. It's like your spirit guides are going, wow. We told you.
It's gotten to the point now where they've got me so gun shy that when I start to get a message, I'm like, oh shit. Like I gotta, because they get heavy handed if you don't really listen. It just seems like the energy builds up and then you fall down or you get sick or you're supposed to take a vacation. You don't take a vacation. So what happens is you take a vacation with a foot in a cast. You can do this the easy way or the hard way, how you want to do it.
That's so true. It's very true.
Yeah, it's like the easy way or the hard. So now when I start, but I got a hack. I have a hack for you guys. When I'm with a client or something and I see the energy like really big, like I'm like, oh shoot, you have not been listening. And there's a tsunami of lesson coming your way rather than having to deal with the tsunami. So let's say that they're saying, you got to quit your job. Your job is terrible. It's hurting your health. It's hurting your relationships, blah, blah, blah. And so you're like, well, I know I need to quit my job, but I don't have the trust. I don't have the courage, whatever it is. So you can actually do something small and it kind of satisfies that energy. So yeah, you do need to quit your job. That's going to be it. That's probably going to be the answer. But to buy yourself some time, you can show you can show the universe, your spirit guides, that you're in good faith, right? Okay, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe take this class. I'm going to learn this new thing that I think maybe I've been getting this impression or this idea, this interest keeps popping up. You see ads for it. People talk about it. I'm going to take this class. That's your taking a step towards what they want you to do. Therefore, they're not going to put the smack down. The whole big lesson doesn't have to manifest because you're taking a step. Just take a step towards them. And that changes the energy. And what somebody said to me once, and I think this is so true, certainly it's been true for me. If I take a step towards the universe takes 3 steps toward me. All I have to do is take 1 step. And they open 3 doors or they do 3 things times 3 to help me.
It's true. And it's, I think it is tied to that. There is the law of non-interference where they cannot interfere in our lives or change our past in any way. They can give us nudges and, little pushes to nudge us on our way. But, if we don't make one pivotal decision that allows them to do the nudges, then we're stuck and they can't do anything. So that totally is so right on. And sometimes like even that step, we might be thinking, why would I be wanting to take a painting class? Our ego's like, that's a waste of time and you're going to have to take off time work. When are you going to have time to do it? But it may not even be about the painting class. It might be about someone in the painting class who's going to provide you with an opportunity to find a new job that you love. So it's again, the leap of faith, but that one's feels a little bit safer because it's, I'm at least just going to go to the class and check it out to satisfy my curiosity and see what happens. So
or that new love interest might be at that class, or the new business opportunity, or the new housing opportunity. Guys, if you're in your living room and you're like, I can't get any help, maybe you need to get outside of your living room a little bit so to give them a chance to help you. Sometimes they've said to me, just do something, Susan, anything. Just anything. For the love of God. But
it's funny.
If it's wrong, just do something so the energy gets changed up, right? Because if you're doing the same thing every day, you kind of create this weird energetic box, and you're living in this weird energetic box. Very hard for them to get a new message inside your energetic box.
Right.
When you step outside the energetic box, then it's easier for them to arrange for someone to be at that grocery store, at that class, or at the community center, or wherever that you might be, that'd be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. I just thought it because, we were talking about all the spiritual messages in the body and everything else. And sometimes it's exactly what you said. You just need to get out of the house. I had this lady who she was really into spirituality, meditated, blah, 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 used crystals. She had sore shoulders and she wanted to know if it was a past lifetime. I mean, it was so complex in what she wanted to find out. And her higher self was just like, she just needs to stretch more.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It totally let her down. I think in the answer was the guidance for her that she doesn't need to make things always so complicated. But that was the answer. It was like, we don't have to heal anything. She just needs to stretch in the morning and she'll be fine.
Oh my God. See, and that makes us mad because we're looking for something like, okay, you need to go to Mount Shasta. And then you need to get on all fours on the full moon, and you need to howl while you kick your right leg up. Okay, like that. If you told somebody that, and then you told them to go stretch, they would totally do everything you told them to do because we're so invested in this idea of this spiritual ritual. You know what I mean? It's like, but spirit guides are like, she just needs to stretch. She's fine.
I think it's the moment when your ego starts feeling like it's the spiritual ego and taking control. And I think that I've met with people who they have every book on everything everywhere. They've signed up for all these online classes. They haven't finished. They've started all these projects they've never done. I had one lady, she had like thousands of different herb supplements that she had never opened in her cupboards. Wow. And I think when our ego starts like, oh, maybe there is something of the spiritual thing that we overthink everything and we over rationalize. Oh. So in a way, it's almost like when spirit slaps us over the head and is like, you just need a stretch. It's not going to be these 10 herbs that cost $5,000.
Right? Or 10,000 herbs. You just need to do some stretching. Yeah. Oh my God. But it's so true, right? We're overcomplicating, basically. We're overcomplicating these things.
Yeah.
Because we can't believe it would be that simple. But it really is that simple, you guys. I turned my whole life around. The only reason I'm on this YouTube thing right now is because I learned to talk nice to myself. Once I started talking nice to myself and being my own cheerleader, then I could freaking hear the spirit guides. And of course, then I had to argue with them. But anyway, look, I'm just trust but verify. I'm just saying, trust but verify. But I mean, really, if you're going to get me through this whole thing and then tell me to stretch, I mean, look, make up some stuff. Just make up something. Make me feel better about that.
And the thing is that even though that's aggravating, there's sometimes just the response has meaning. Like, why are you so upset about this? And it's because you've made this more complicated than, sessions always go to how they need to go. And sometimes it's not, that doesn't end up what a person expects. And just that in itself is their higher self and spirit team being like, you need to think about this because this isn't why it's working. Why your life isn't working. It's because you expect too much and you're not open to different ways of thinking or whatever else. So anyway, I also wanted to say what you're saying about spirit is all about bargaining, and I don't know what it is, but you were kind of like saying, make a deal where you want me to take this art class. Okay, I'll do some research. it's giving the little bits to your spirit team and just being like, okay, I'll do this. If you could just give me some signs or nudges or things to push me along the way, that would be great. They're all about that. Even with healing, it's QHHT sessions. Sometimes it's like, you just told this lady she needs to start running and exercising again. She has this ankle that hurts her every morning. Can you heal it? And sometimes they're like, no. And then it'd be like, but how's she going to run and how's she going to get more physical and active again if her ankle's healing? And they'll say, and then it would be, I know you're all powerful. You can heal anything. Anything's possible. There's no limitations. This would really help her. And then they'll be like, okay. And they'll do it. So the spirit world, I think it works the same way. It's like, if I do this, I'll give a little bit.
That's hilarious. Yeah, they bargain to maintain the communication. I like that, Kevin. And that's kind of what Jason was saying. Like, it's true. And this is something that we don't do enough of either. It's a two-way communication, you guys. I think that sometimes we're just waiting for signs from spirit. Send a message to them. Hey, I would like to see hearts. Can you show me hearts? Can I see some feathers? Like, this is really hard for me. I really want some messages from you guys that you got my back, right? Like, if I'm really supposed to quit this job, if I'm really supposed to go and exercise, can I get some messages? It would really mean a lot to me, right? And I think they're happy to work with you. Like, they love that. They love that communication back and forth with you.
Yeah. And I feel pushed to say they have sense. Most of them, a lot of them have senses of humor. So I've been kind of attacked in some different ways about saying that, and I don't know why. And
I know
they joke. There's even like ETs that are hilarious, and so
I laugh all the time.
We think it has to be some solemn Buddha on the mountaintop. No jokes allowed. But it's you can joke around with your guides, and I know mine think I'm hilarious. They drive me crazy. So and they laugh at how in my head I get all the time.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, yes. They're always telling me to lighten up. I'm like, I am light.
Yes.
And I tell you what, too, your guides know you, right? Like they know you better than you know you. And if you're the kind of person who likes to laugh, they're going to use laughter. They're going to communicate with you the best way to communicate with you is. If you're a very serious person and you just don't really have that kind of sense of humor, they're not going to make a lot of jokes. They're not, because you're just not going to get it, and it's not going to work. They tell me it's not easy for them to communicate with us, so they don't miss an opportunity. Like, they're not going to communicate with you in a way that doesn't work for you, because then they've wasted that energy. They're not going to waste that energy. And I don't know why. I got to tell this story, because when you're talking about funny, because they showed it to me, and I thought it was hilarious. And I often say good one to them. You know what I mean? Like, you got me. Yeah. So this is a hilarious story. So I've got this for anybody that, like, your house, you've got like a sewer pipe that goes out of your house, and you've got this thing that's called a clean out. It's got like a little cap on it. And if your plumber ever needs to, they take the cap off and they clean your sewer. Okay, fine. So my lawnmower person ran over that, and now there's an opening. So the sewer line is open, which is not a big deal at all. It's, it's out in the alley. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to the restroom in the middle of the night, and I'm the lights aren't on, and I'm sitting on the toilet. And all of a sudden I saw this picture in my head of a snake in the toilet. And I literally like levitated off of the toilet, and I was peeing, and I was like, I can't stop peeing. I just off of the toilet, and I looked in, and I'm like, there's no snake in there. And I'm like, nice one. Because it's been bugging me that the opening is, and I'm thinking, what a snake, don't you see those pictures? I'm in South Texas, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm in South Florida. But I'm telling you, there's no telling what could crawl in there, and it would be right in my toilet. And I literally levitated. I was like, oh, y'all think that's funny. They're probably telling me, Susan, like a month from now, I'll be doing a video talking about the snake in my toilet. They're probably giving me a message. Honey, if you don't go get that fixed, there is going to be a snake in your toilet. You know what I mean?
I can't, I have to share, and I think I've shared this once in the YouTube world, but this is how I really learned that they have a sense of humor, because I had a client. He was like a recovering math teacher. That's not to say anything bad about math teachers, but he was like the analytically minded, like, I'm trying to open my mind. He was trying to figure out time and how time can be not linear. I mean, it was like, it was,
wow. Okay.
He was like analytical, but he was moving into the spiritual realm, and just, he was open-minded, but it was challenging. He told me when we were speaking before the hypnosis, among many other things he had experienced, he's like, every time I'm home alone, I hear this really faint music and I can't figure out where it's coming from. And I said, can you tell what, maybe if does it have words? Is there a time period? And he said, no, it's just barely audible. And I search for it. And it's only when I'm alone and I can't find it. And I think I'm, I just want to know I'm not crazy. And he had a wife, and he would tell her, and she was like, yeah. And so, he had the most incredible session. It was the most incredible lifetime. It was like one of the first sessions I did. His higher self came through, and towards the end I said, so he has this question about the music. He hears it. What is that all about? And they said, we just do that to F with him. And I was like, which he was like a really conservative guy. So like any type of bad language wasn't like in his vocabulary.
Oh my
and
God.
That came out, and I just was like, I wasn't aware. And they said he just needs to lighten up and stop taking stuff so seriously. So we just play that music to help him to kind of like.
Meanwhile, the guys over here calling 1-800 mental health professionals. I mean, don't y'all think that was a little heavy? You know why they also do that is to prove to you that you have clairaudience. It's also to prove that you can hear it. Sometimes it's just simply to prove to you that you have psychic hearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, oh my God.
Yeah.
See, better you than me. I'm telling you, my sessions would not be good. It would not. I could be like, and you think that's perfect? I would just be like ripping that spirit guide. I'd be ripping them up. It would not be pretty. It would not be pretty. That's why I don't do this work.
Yeah. I mean, when he came out of it, I said, well, I figured out why you hear the music. And he's like, oh, really? And I said, this is what they said. And I told him, he was like, what? But he was open, he was like, maybe I do. Because I get in my head a lot when I'm alone, and that would make sense to play a joke.
Oh my
God.
That. They're trying to lighten him up. They're trying to, that is the thing. Like, I don't think I need lightening up, honestly. I just don't. I just don't. Anyway, that's my opinion. Wow, that is fascinating. Let's just see, Allison had the stone spirits here. There's a lot, and I saw Topher. There's a lot of great people in the chat. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you guys. What are some interesting things? I mean, what are the most surprising situations that you've experienced?
I'll say that the healings have been something that there's the healings are frequent. I mean, like I said in the beginning, there's some times when they won't do it, but some of the healings have been visually incredible. I saw a lady who she had this horrible thyroid issue. Her higher self agreed to heal it, and I could actually, as she was laying on the table, see light, because all the healing they do is with light. I could see the light. I mean, it wasn't like flashlight or beam of light. It was just a soft light emanating from her chest, and it was incredible. And I've had other people where their bones are readjusted, and it kind of, it's so weird because it's like I still get in my head, I'm still like, I can't believe this is happening right now. It's kind of creepy, but I know that it's for the good and everything else, but it blows my mind because it's beyond all comprehension. So that's kind of, the healings are important. I would say that I think the validation of ET races and has been the most profound for me, especially when I grew up terrified of UFOs and aliens. So I think that they're stepping forward and coming through sessions, not only for clients, but it's also for me, and communicating with me and talking with me. And the ones that I've been in communication with emanate that same loving energy, because they know it's so hard here, and they know what it's like to be here, and that this is like, even though it's like winning the lottery to be here, there's so many souls waiting for this earth experience, because we learn the most. It's the most difficult, the most challenging. We feel disconnected from everything and everyone. So they do have this very loving, like, we want to do everything to help you. We want you to remember who you are. I will say the most profound thing was I had blue avians come through one time. And
blue avians, which is an alien, you guys. Blue avians. Okay.
Which they're an ET race. They're in another dimension. I think they're 9th, 10th or something. They do look like bird people. It was incredible coming through the session, because they were coming through the client. But she was like saying, this is so weird to talk. And I said, why? And she was like moving her mouth all this weird way. And they said, she doesn't have a beak. It was just really weird. But the weird thing is when I was talking with them, they were like joking with me, and it felt like family in a way, like how my own family jokes with me. It's kind of like this back and forth, and I'd ask questions. They'd be like, oh, you know that. Why do we have to tell you that? And I'd be like, well, I kind of have to get it from you so that she can hear it recording. But it was so interesting in that moment, in that time, to be in that energy and have it be like some other dimensional being that I knew might exist, but didn't. And it felt, it wasn't scary. It wasn't. And ultimately, I have learned that ETs aren't supposed to be scary, that it's not supposed to be based in fear, that's something that we've our society's kind of created in order for us not to remember who we are. So I've learned there's so much. I wish it's just the interconnectedness, the history of the planet. I could go on and on with things that are just so powerful. And it's so humbling to do, especially when it's important information, and in a weird sort of way, they trust you with the information that sometimes is pretty important and relevant to what we're experiencing now on the earth. So it's always interesting.
Wow. Do you feel like we are waking up, right? We have this amnesia, so that I gather we can really learn the lessons, right? I mean, if you get all the answers to the test, then what's the point of taking the test, right?
Yeah.
So, we want to expand our soul while we're here. We want to grow our soul. But so do you feel like we're going to be getting more help from aliens? Do you feel like that's going to be something that's going to be more prominent as we go into the next, say, 5 years?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And that's not to instill fear. That's the worst no. It's help that will be received and out of love. So I have to preface that, but absolutely yes. It's even though time doesn't really exist on the other side, it's like we're way past where this should have already happened 10 years ago. So they're very active. And I think it's telling in, for example, to go back to the sessions that I do, past lives aren't so important anymore. They're valuable and they're meaningful and they can help us understand what we're experiencing in the physical, but that's kind of the 3D 1.0, and we're moving into the 5D 6.0 or 12.0 DNA and everything else. So it's a reflection of not only that they want to help us to remember who we are, because it's kind of the game that is not obsolete, but they want us to step into the galactic community. So they're, for example, in sessions, people might not necessarily go to lifetimes. They might go to other dimensions, ETs, other existences. I had a client who was a planet in another galaxy. So
wait, your client was a planet? Your client was a planet? I was just a frog. Really? Wow. Damn. I need to upgrade. I need a better package.
I mean, you never know. I mean, all of this, it's been told to me over and over and over and over again. All of us who are here.
A whole planet. Wow.
And it's so tricky trying to figure, because it's like, in doing a session, you have to play detective. You can't ask like really like factual questions, because then your ego's ears perk up. So it's really challenging to, are you moving? What do you see? What do you feel? Do you have a physical body? And especially when it's a planet, it's like a lot of those answers are, nope, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then it finally came through, because she started describing the landscape, that it was like this pink purple sand that, and there was water, but there was also water, but then there was heavier water that was an ocean and everything else. And I kept trying to figure out where she was. And she was like, I think I'm the planet. Because then our conscious mind kind of comes in, and she was like, I think I'm actually this planet. I can't explain it, but I feel like I'm looking at myself. And it was incredible.
That's amazing.
And the thing that's incredible too about it is that we're never shown anything that we can't handle. We're not given information that we can't handle. It goes with spirit teams and everything else. But this is all happening to so many people now. It's like they know that we can process it, and that our awareness and our consciousness and our vibration are raising. So we're ready for this, and that's what we're being prepared for. So lifetimes are all fine and well. But there's a lot of people here now who have never been to the earth before. So it's immensely interesting, especially when I come across people who, this is their first time here. They've never been here. And it's a challenge.
I'm glad they got you on the line, because I think that is extremely challenging. So I had a question, but I also have this question. What was the other question? Okay, I'm just going to ask the one I did have a follow-up question, but I think this is true. Wiki is saying, if the guides have a sense of humor, why doesn't your higher self? I feel like when I talk to my higher self, it's all business. It's no emotion. It's droll, if you know that word, if you understand what I'm saying. And it's all business. And the smackdown, like, I can, and if anybody wants to do this, this is something you can look into. You can work on putting yourself in a trance. Like, I put myself in my own trance, and then I ask my spirit guide, my higher self, not my spirit guides, my higher self. And then I record it. So I voice record it, and I just speak out loud what I'm getting. But is that your experience, that the higher self tends to have less emotion or less humor, or is that just me and Wiki?
I think it speaks to, and I've noticed this, I have seen some, or communicated with some higher selves that do have senses of humor. I have communicated with some that it's very no nonsense, like, yeah. it's almost robotic in a way. And the best way I think I could explain it, and this is not, because our ideas of higher and lower are better or worse, is that doesn't apply in the spirit world. It seems like that if you have a higher self, meaning it's more out there from the earth experience and more distant and more of a, I don't know, the wise elder type, that it's like they don't really care if you win the lottery tomorrow, and they could care less if you get a job tomorrow. This is what you need to do to advance yourself as a spiritual being. I've had those clients, and they're usually those who are ancient souls with abilities and knowledge that needs to be shared. It's not, that's kind of what I've experienced, that those of us who are higher vibration, also their higher self, are typically a little bit more higher, no nonsense, and harder on you.
Right.
They don't frost the cake, to say it. Put it.
No. Yeah. No. It was the sternest talking to I've ever. I mean, it was basically like, you're asking this question, here's the answer. And I was like, dang. You know what I mean? Like, it was really true. It was 100% true, and it was 100% succinct. It was like there's no wasted words, there's no wasted anything. It's just like, boom, this is it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've gotten that with clients too, right? Like when I first started doing readings, because I count myself as a Southern person, and the things that I was telling my clients were like, I was like, y'all gonna have to be nice. I mean, this is not how we talk to people, because they were just like, like, I'm like, you're telling my client she's fat? That's why she got diabetes. I think maybe we need to do this a little different. I remember, like, after the first week of doing readings, going, oh no, we're gonna have to do this different. See, I just don't work like that, So
it's true, and
work with you in different ways,
Yeah, and I've learned that they speak to you how you need to be spoken to, and there's been one or two times that they have been like the higher selves, and they kind of forget things like volume and things like that. So there was one time I almost flew off my chair because I asked, can I speak with the higher self, and it was like full blast.
Wow.
Scared the crap out of me, because it was this really soft spoken woman, and all of a sudden I was like, yes, we're here, and I almost flew off the chair, and I said,
like, oh my God, you're so don't you have a cross in your back pocket? You get your cross out and be like, I don't know what the hell just happened.
I know there have been times that I sit in there and it's an amazing session, but I think to myself, what if someone walked in right now? Especially, I had one client, she actually was, I can't really describe it, but she was having a conversation with her higher self on her own while she was in hypnosis. So it was like, I wasn't even asking questions. It was like a full-on dialogue going on between her and her higher self on the table. And that was one of those times I was like, if someone walked in right now, it would be the cross, I think.
Yeah, that and the white jackets, those nice comfy white jackets that keep you from moving your arms around.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly! Yeah, you can ask the spirit guides to be, they're not going to waste the communication, so they're gonna deliver the message the best way that you can receive it. This energy is so precious. They don't just go over there chattering away. Well, maybe mine do, but most people's don't. Most people's don't.
Sometimes
that's a really good thing. Singing. You guys are getting messages through songs. I promise you, at least twice a week, I wake up singing a song. It's always in the morning. Usually I'm making coffee and I'm singing some song that I have never even heard on the radio in forever. And I have to Google the lyrics because I know it's a message for me. And then I have to kind of figure out what it means, because sometimes timing is really not the same, right? So sometimes they give you a message and the thing hasn't happened and isn't even going to happen, maybe for a week or a day, or that's why I say write it down, because if you don't write it down, all that work they did to give you that message didn't help you. It didn't, it was wasted, and they don't want that. So do you find that the timing can sometimes be like when you're doing a session, are they really good about timing and say she needs to do this now, she needs to do this? No. Okay.
Well, in terms of like what they need to do like right now, yes, like what needs to happen in this moment. But if I say, how long will this be, they always kind of, or they back away from those questions, because
for the love of God, just man up and get a time. You know what I mean? Seriously, you're non-physical.
Even with the ET question, you asked, how soon is it going to be? A couple of years ago, I had a pretty intense session with Galactic Council, which there's galactic councils and then the Galactic Federation, and they were telling me some really serious stuff, including this wasn't serious, but about disclosure. And I asked out of curiosity, how long ago, or how long will this be in the future? At the time, they said 250 years. And then maybe last year, I had another client that was coming through with information about, disclosure and Earth changes and the Earth shift. And I said, well, when can we expect, UFO or, kind of more galactic presence? And they said, 2 to 4 years. So I was just like, wow, that's kind of a why. I guess we are behind.
Well, the other thing is 250 years for them, it could be 2 years for us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the timing could be that off in that sense, or it could be that there was some catapulted time situation that happened. That's fascinating. I keep thinking of questions I wanted to ask you. Go ahead.
Kevin, I noticed in a question I mentioned, why do the sessions, QHHT sessions, have to be done in person? It's just important. One, because Dolores and her team made it very explicit that they have to be done in person. I think just generally speaking, the energy that you share with someone in person is much different than any type of online communication can offer. But the thing that's unique about QHHT is there are types of regression where it's lighter forms of trance, so you almost are an observer of a lifetime, like a movie playing on a film. QHHT takes you to the theta level, which when you experience a lifetime, you're experiencing it in the now, as though it's happening. It's nothing. It's not like a memory. It's like you are experiencing it first.
You're experiencing it physically, almost like physically.
So stuff happens in lifetimes.
Yeah.
That when I first started doing it, it was pretty. Like I had a lady that right off, her entire face turned bright red, and I didn't know what was going on, and her eyes started twitching uncontrollably, and she was in hypnosis, and I was a new practitioner. I thought, okay, what do I do? Is this natural? So I just kept going with it. It ended up that she had this lifetime she needed to release, that she was a prisoner, and I think it was the Korean War. It really wasn't clear, but she was captured and she had been put under water torture where the dripping was hitting her head, and that was actually why her eye had started twitching in the beginning. And then she had another life where she was burned at the stake as a witch, and that was the heat. So it was that's relevant to, it's really important to be in person with someone, because say you're bound and experiencing water torture, and then your power goes out, the internet drops, you're kind of stuck. So that's the essential reason why it has to be in person, just safety.
Yeah. So I've been stuck before. I've been left before. And you do come out of it. You will come out it, but it's not the best situation. Let's just put it that way. You're not going to die, I don't think. I guess you could theoretically, if it's a physical sensation in your body could do something. And if there's no one there to call 911, then that's a problem. So, and when he's saying Dolores, we're talking about Dolores Cannon. If you guys are not familiar with Dolores Cannon, look her up. She's all over YouTube. She's got, I don't know, 1 million books that she's written, and she created this QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis therapy
technique.
Technique. Okay.
Yeah.
I get the H and H mixed up. Healing and hypnosis, or hypnosis and healing. So it's an interesting thing. You guys can find, if you're in Colorado, hook this man up, look him up, because he's in Colorado. So, you're nearby, or check out his website to see where he's at and what he offers. Because this, as you can tell, this is super helpful. But if you're not in Colorado, you can just Google QHHT practitioners, and you can find practitioners in your area usually, because this is all, sanctioned by Dolores Cannon, and these people are certified by Dolores Cannon. So you can find a certified practitioner wherever you are. Joni's in Colorado. There you go.
Awesome.
So you can see how helpful this would be for you.
And another thing that's kind of cool is I'm not. They hold several retreats throughout the year. So if you have kind of an inkling or curiosity about it, it's for practitioners and non-practitioners. So the QHHT official website, I mean, some of them are pretty.
Yes.
Ones that I wish I could go on, but it's just way out of my budget. But there's like one in Sedona that's coming up in May, and it's a good way to kind of get around a group of like-minded people and learn more about QHHT.
Is it only for practitioners? Is it only for practitioners?
It's for practitioners, but also guests, so anyone can go. So
so as a guest, you could go there and kind of get a couple of different.
You could probably even get a free reading. The start of it is where, and it's not the type of I've been to those conventions that are like pressure. It's not that whatsoever.
No, it sounds like a retreat more.
Yeah, it's a retreat more. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I want to answer 2 questions really quick. Could someone else's higher self send you a message like a song? And I mean, I guess theoretically they could, but I don't see them wanting to do that particularly. I don't know about what Jason thinks, but I think that the closest thing is that their loved ones could send you a message like that. I mean, what do you think about that?
So this is like 3, 4, 5.0. I've learned over the past year with one particular client that we have more than one higher self, but in different universes.
Dimensions. Okay.
So in essence, there were some things that happened with this client that he was getting a lot of information that he didn't understand from his other higher self. That sexually needed to be fixed. And I can't even begin to explain how that happens. It didn't make sense to me. So long story short, I'm sure that would be possible. Nothing's impossible. I'm not sure why they would do that, but
this is from another person's. You're saying your client had multiple higher selves. So someone else. What I'm getting from this is that maybe I'm getting this psychically, but look, when you're got a song stuck in your head and it's your ex's favorite song, or it's your family member that maybe you're not talking to or something like that. Yeah, that is them. They could be thinking about you. Doesn't mean you need to pick up the phone and call them, It doesn't mean that. Don't think that that's what that means, you guys. It could,
Yeah.
it's just like if your ex texts you, are you going to text back? That's a decision you need to make, right? It's the same thing with energy.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that
It's sanctioned by your spirit guides.
Yeah.
Just because it's energy doesn't mean it's sanctioned by your spirit guides. It doesn't mean that. It just means it's a different way to connect with you, in my opinion.
Right. I get a lot of songs. I do.
From your exes?
Oh, no.
Right. I get a lot of songs too. Yeah.
No,
the only time I got a song from my ex was, it turns out they had a medical emergency.
Oh, wow.
And I was mad because I was like trying to get my head with your song. Like, this is actually in 911 situation. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. But anyway, yeah, don't think it just because it's energy that it's some blessed thing. It's not. Believe me, it's not.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this last question about the Stone Spirit says, have any clients experienced future lives, which is a great question.
I've had one, and the incredible thing is it was my mom.
Really? That is incredible.
I will say it took 9 times to get her to go into hypnosis, and we had the conversation about sessions always go how they have to go. And finally, when it did happen, I asked like, why the 9 times? And they were like, she just needs to learn how not to worry about everybody else, because she was more worried about me being successful in doing it. It's when I first started pretty much, but she went to a future life, and I mean, she does healing work, but I was really shocked because it validated so much of what I had actually read in Dolores Cannon's books. Like, she was on it, and it's important to point out future lifetimes are possibilities. They're not set in stone, and so we're always shifting all the time. So what she saw was, I'll preface by saying, wasn't a thing, and I don't think we're going even in that direction. But she was on the planet. It was very red. I thought maybe she was on Mars. She's described having on the spacesuit. She was a male. She was doing research. She actually had been tasked with doing the planet was actually Earth after nuclear destruction. So she was tasked with the project of finding out how to bring the Earth back to life and everything else. I had her like, it was so weird to having it come out of your mom. And I said, where do you stay? Do you live somewhere? And she was like, I'm the only one on the planet. And I said, well, can you go to where you stay? And she's like, okay, I'm there. And I said, how did you get there? And she's like, I just thought myself there. And I said, okay. Which is the case outside of this experience, we think, and it happens.
That's right.
And she was looking at this white structure that was like globulous, but it was solid. And she started describing how she was the structure and the structure was her. And I said, what does that mean? And she's like, it's because I created it with my mind because I needed a place to stay. And then I asked her to go inside. And again, she thought herself inside. There's nothing in there. I said, well, where's all, how do you survive? And she's like, I just think it, and then it disappears when I don't need it anymore.
Wow.
So the long story short is she did eventually was successful in the research, and she was like ended up at the end of her life sitting by this tropical waterfall and all this different stuff, and everyone was happy. And I asked her, I said, are you happy? Are you proud of what you did? And she was like, no, I'm content. And I said, well, why? I would be happy. And she's like, this is my mission. I finished my mission. That's what I needed to do. And I said, so what's going to happen? Are people going to come back to the Earth? And she's like, yes. And I said, how are they going to get there? And she said, well, by ships and everything else. And I said, oh, are you excited? And she was like, oh, I'm not going to stay. This is the end of my life. I'm going to leave. And I said, so you don't actually die? And she said, no, my time's over. I'm going to go back to spirit. I came what I needed to do.
Wow. And that's your mom?
That was my mom.
Wow.
So, after that, I asked her herself, I was like, what was that.
Yeah.
And they said, and this was so interesting, we all have this ability that we just don't realize it. She has the ability, it's actually really awakened within her. She's able to travel throughout time. So she had actually taken herself into that lifetime to experience it in order to show her she had the ability. So it really wasn't a future
It was a
lifetime.
simulation. It was a simulation.
It was to show her.
It was a simulation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fascinating because in this physical manifestation of her soul, in this particular lifetime, you said she gets very worried about everybody and she's very like focused on the 3D.
Yeah. That's a continuing struggle. And it also, she had a past lifetime where she was a powerful healer, and people go to see her for healing, and she was in the city, and to a very powerful married couple, wealthy couple, their son was sick. They brought him to see her, and the child died. So she was exiled.
Story. Yep.
Yeah. So it's dramatically, tremendously impacted in how much faith she has in herself and what she can do and her abilities. It's frustrating, but I know it's her it's her path to do. But I think that was also to show her, like, you are so much more than you believe you are in this life. So that was the
fascinating things to learn about your own mom.
Yeah, it was. I learned stuff about myself too unexpectedly. So it was kind of an interesting session.
That is a trip. Wow, I never even thought about doing those sessions on your own family.
Yeah, I thought it would be easier, but it's not.
No, I can imagine it wouldn't be easier.
There's too much stuff.
There's too much stuff. There's too much stuff, and you're still trying to battle your ego because you're the facilitator. Yeah. So you're not completely out of it. You're not, you're still very much in your ego. Wow. So Jason is in Colorado. He's currently on the western slope. If you guys are in Colorado, you understand what that means, but he might be on the eastern slope at some point. So just reach out to him and he can help you understand where he's at.
Yeah, definitely. I love doing what I do and helping. So that's why I'm here, partially.
Partially, nice. So you do this full time then?
The QHHT, and then talking about, we get the nudge to jump off the cliff, and then it's kind of opened up pathways for me to accepting my abilities in other ways and other things.
Psychic, mediumship, teaching, writing, all those things. Yeah.
So my budding and growing has been actually kind of through YouTube and
nice.
Kevin Lewis, and he's here. So I wouldn't be here without
Well, we have a great community, don't we? I mean, that's what this is all about. It's really kind of like the little oasis in the desert. We're all this little community that really supports each other, which I really enjoy.
It's supportive, and it's really supportive in ways that it's the good side of technology, and getting to connect with like-minded people, and doing with technology what we're supposed to be doing, because that's no accident that we have this type of information and ability right now. So
that's exactly right. This is no accident. None of this is an accident. The fact that you're watching this video, no accident. The fact that you watched it to the end, no accident. The messages, your guides are like, jumping on to send you some kind of aha moment, and maybe something somebody said in the chat, maybe something that Jason said or I said, just it's gonna stick with you. That's all synchronicities. And I think Kevin, everybody's here. I really appreciate you guys for joining us and all the moderators. And Jason, so you're in like, so you're doing readings out of Grand Junction right now, or?
I do those online. And then I've developed something. It's been a process. It's kind of using the knowledge I've gained through QHHT sessions in terms of healing. And I also have learned that I can tap into lifetimes when necessary with people.
Nice.
That was a process. I'd be doing sessions with people, and it was really, really challenging for me in the beginning because I was actually visualizing and there with them. So it was I was taking on more than I needed to. Yeah, but now that I'm aware of that more, I can use that as types of like talking about someone's physical symptoms online with the knowledge that I gained through QHHT, how to understand the body, what spirit guides are trying to communicate with you, and what needs to be done. So it's not QHHT, but it's kind of the culmination of my abilities with knowledge and everything else. So that's another thing that I do.
So you do that online. So that's available to anybody anywhere in the world. And that's sort of like more physical healing, or
I mean, it's starting healing? Yeah, it's starting with the acknowledgement that every physical symptom most of the time is a message. The other times it's usually sometimes past life traumas, other things like that. I get kind of tap in and get guidance in terms of, oh my God, this is past life, seeing lifetimes. And then also, if we're experiencing it in the physical, in the now, there's a reason why. And it's usually because we haven't gotten the message before. So, it's the thing with the QHHT healing, just in general, and this type of healing, we think it's some type of miraculous thing all the time, but it's really just a matter of understanding the core of what that message is. And once we know the message, that's when the healing actually begins. It's our body. We can communicate and say, okay, so I know I'm carrying this grief around in my chest about the life I could have had if I had made this one decision. I recognize it now. I need to let it go. And just that very acknowledgement and statement is where healing, our body's like, oh, okay. She got the message. She doesn't have to carry this around anymore.
Exactly. It's true, you guys. I swear it's absolutely true. And it can be like that. But it can also take a lot longer. And the thing is to be gentle with yourself. If you start judging yourself, why can't I do it faster? You're slowing yourself down. You're riding the brake on your own kind of development or health or whatever. But I want to be clear. So you offer this type of session over the phone or via Zoom or something. That's correct, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then do you offer the QHHT in person somewhere?
In person.
Okay. Where do you offer the in-person QHHT?
Just in, Grand Junction, I've been traveling. Okay. Sometimes I travel to Denver and Boulder, and I've had a couple people traveling here. So,
So if you guys contact him, this is what I keep saying. The best thing to do is just to contact him and have a conversation, and he can tell you what he does, and you guys can decide what's the best thing for you. And if there's a few of you on the other side, like in Denver or Colorado Springs, maybe he can get a few of you guys together to do in one weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a lot of flexibility here. I would just contact him and connect, because I think that the one thing, you guys, is that the reason this community is here is Spirit is trying to give us all resources, right? This video is free. This is a resource, right? But there are so many healers in the chat. There's psychics and mediums in the chat. You're surrounded by people. So take advantage, right? Take advantage and save up your money, or ask Spirit to provide you with the money and see what happens. Tell Spirit, I really want to get a healing done. Can I get some money in my account? Now, here's the thing. If you believe that you're not going to get money, that you're not supposed to have money, money's hard to get. If you believe that I'm just a person who doesn't make a lot of money, well, then no, Spirit cannot give you something. You're not answering the door, y'all. You don't believe it's possible. believe it's possible, and then ask for it, and it will come. I promise you, I've seen it with me. I've seen it with my clients. Fix your own attitude, fix your own thought processes, and then ask for it, and boom, you're just gonna be gobsmacked at how it shows up.
And just think of it as, I mean, this is something I still struggle with. Just, Spirit always focuses on, it's not the bad relationships we see in terms of greed and everything else. It is an energetic vehicle through which we can better ourselves. And so if we're asking for it in a way that's not, oh my God, I need this or else I'm going to die, but I need this for my own growth and my own, guidance. It's a lot easier to see it that way if you're not one to, panhandle or be begging for money from your spirit team. It's important just to see it.
Oh my God. Did you just say those words? Panhandle or beg money from my spirit team. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So what I totally get it, because I have this same thing like with worth. I totally get it. I totally get it. I've really struggled with that. Actually, in 2023, it was a really breakout year for me, but I have really had to face a lot of self-worth things that kept showing up in my life in weird ways. And I had to really just get over myself. So yeah, I'm telling you guys, and this is just my personal opinion, but if you want more abundance, there's nobody cutting that spigot off but you. You're the only one with your foot on the hose of prosperity. You're the only one. Spirit guides don't care about money. They don't care. They care about your soul. They care about your health. They care about your soul light, your happiness. They don't care about money. So if you want to ask for money, ask for money. If you want money, get money. Change your attitude. Is money, do people that have money, are they jerks? Are they assholes? You know what I mean? What is your opinion about money? Do some work around this, guys. Can I ever have money? Am I worth having money? Am I worth having love? Am I worth being loved? Ask yourself that question, you guys in the chat. Am I worth being loved? What does it feel like for me to be loved? We're talking some big shit. That's going to stop all of y'all in your tracks. Money and love. But you got to be worth it. You got to say, I'm worth love. I'm worth money.
And I think that those of us who are here to help, and those of us who are here to heal and help, do the work, is actually, I don't want to say the most important, are those who have the most issues, I think, surrounding like money and things like that, just because we want to give everything away. Yep. I know a practitioner, she was like charging very minimally for sessions, and someone's higher self actually kind of stepped in and stopped the session and told her, you need to charge more.
Wow. See?
So even Spirit recognizes, it's not about wealth, but it's about the exchange of energy and what you're doing.
Exchange of energy. This is what the guides want to say all the time. It's equal energy exchange. Equal energy exchange. And if you're not valuing yourself, then you're letting other people take advantage of you. And then you're not getting an equal energy exchange. And look, listen, guys, we're all spiritual, but we're not monks. Nobody is feeding us. Nobody is clothing us. We still have to pay for our own, electricity, our own rent, our own clothes, our own cars. We live in a 3D money-filled, money-required environment. End of story. And I just really want to challenge the idea that if somebody has a shit ton of money, that they're not spiritual, or they're only in it for the money, or they're all of a sudden they're fake or something. I think I want to challenge that, because I think you can be fake and poor. I think you can be fake and rich. I don't think it has anything to do with the money. Maybe if money is what you're thinking about and it consumes you, then yeah, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. But all things in moderation and equal energy exchange, I think that it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be comfortable in this life.
Yeah, I just popped in from a session I had. I don't remember the context, but a higher self said, you know, one of the biggest judges of how much you trust in us is how many credit cards you have in your wallet.
What? Explain that. What?
Because in their perspective, all we have to do is ask. We'll always have everything we need. We're always provided for. And the biggest, you know, showing that we don't trust that is having a credit card. Because it was actually a lady who had a lot of credit cards, and she wanted to know if she was out of debt, or if she would ever get out of debt, and how to change that. And they said that. They're like,
it's the same thing with the phone. It's the same thing with the phone. They told me you guys would be 20 years further along to telepathy. This is a crutch. And you're right. It's like, so believing that you need all these credit cards is sort of, you know, supplanting in a way the fact that you can ask for abundance, or you can be in alignment with abundance.
Yeah.
Really, it's more like being in alignment. It's not asking, because asking belies lack. But when you're in alignment with abundance, and abundance is love. Abundance is a high vibration. So work on this, and then all that other stuff is going to fall right into place.
Mm-hmm. And forgiveness.
And forgiveness. Forgiveness of yourself. Forgiveness of others. Doesn't mean be a doormat. We're not saying be a doormat. That's not what we're saying. But it's really for you.
Especially forgiving yourselves. That's, I think, something that we forget to do is, I'm not perfect. I don't have to be perfect. I don't deserve this because I, you know.
Yeah.
We're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's the earth. It's the dense weight of the earth.
Yeah. So. And also, I can't have fun because there's a war going on, or I can't have fun because there's all this suffering. Okay, you're not really doing anything by not having fun to help them. Honestly, I think the most powerful thing the spirit guides have said to me in recent memory is that as much as your light can shine, you know, given that we're human and things are up and down and, you know, whatever, but as much as your light can shine, even though there's some horrible thing happening to people wherever, we are their light that they see when they're coming out of the tunnel. You know, we always talk about, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Honey, that's you and me. That's us. We're the ones shining the light for them. So hold their light for them. Hold their light for those people that are suffering. Let me shine my bright a little brighter so that you can see us out here, so we can be those beacons of light for you. And then when you come out, honey, here's your light. You know, there's no reason to think I'm just depressed because everything is horrible. Well, sometimes it is horrible, and sometimes we do get down. But let's not let it be a complete and total lifestyle.
I got huge chills. But it's true. It goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's like we hold the light for ourselves when we, and this is something that comes through all the time. Is we take life too seriously. We need to have some fun. We need to have some joy. We need to laugh. We need to lighten up, because it's that contagion. It's that, you know, it's contagious. It's infectious. The earth, Gaia is waking up. That's actually, our laughter is one of the most powerful healing energies that the earth can actually take in. And so the more we laugh, the more we heal the planet. So it really takes it to an old level of not feeling guilty about going out and having some fun, because actually you're doing the work that we need to be doing right now, even though we don't see it, even though it's not part of our, you know, clock in and clock out. I've had those types of clients where it's like, I just can't take the time to go right on the beach or to go play with my dog or anything else. And higher selves have said, if you need to think about this where you're clocking in to having fun and clocking out to, you know, as part of your work day, then do it, because you're doing something. You are working in a way that's for a higher purpose, for yourself, for everybody else, the planet, and the universe. So laugh.
My God, that's the best advice. I love that about the earth, man. That made my whole night. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
They've said that. They said, Gaia, it's the vibration that
I love
needs.
that. That makes sense.
Yeah. The laughter and the joy.
Oh my God, it makes sense.
And
With
we
that,
think we need to be serious and cold and nasty all the time, and
and depressed, and it's difficult here. This is a difficult planet, and we're in a difficult time frame. So I get it. You might have to work a little harder to laugh, but you know, it's like you just said, you know, clock in and clock out. Make it.
Yeah.
This is my fun. I'm gonna have fun. Damn it.
Yeah. And they say it's okay if you do some overtime. Do it.
You have approved fun overtime. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, on that note, we are exactly at 2 hours, and I swear to God, I don't know where the time went. If you're still watching, thank you so very much for staying to the end. You are awesome. And wow, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to all the wonderful channels that dropped in. And don't forget that Jason has his own YouTube channel. He also has his website. All his information is in the description of this video as well. And many of the moderators have been putting it in the chat. So I appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll do this again sometime. It'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be great. I would love to. So definitely.
I love that, Sharon Sipe. Hi to the people lurking. Sharon Sipe is calling y'all out, you lurkers. I'm a lurker too. Half the time I'm on y'all's channels. Y'all don't even know it. Okay. Now Sharon's going to be calling me out like she's psychic. If Susan is here lurking, wow. All right. We love you, lurkers. Lurkers unite.
I lurk. I admit
you
it.
lurk too, right? I mean, you're lurkers. Lurkers are fine. We like lurkers. Yeah. Thank you guys so very much. Take really good care of yourselves. And we'll see you again real soon. Okay, everybody, take good care. Bye, y'all.
Bye.